how do you spot a salesperson in the woods, okay? Here are the top 10 signals. If you're doing any of these things now, you need to fix them. So this is a checklist for you, okay? Number one is you're too easily or readily available. And I'll tie with that, no assistant gatekeeper or people who handle that. So even if you are small, you need to have somebody to answer the phone. Now I'm not saying that I don't want anyone to get confused. I'm not saying that you don't answer your phone live. I'm saying it's just you don't answer your phone live, right? There's a difference. Because the minute that you answer your phone live, it sends the signal that you're small and you can't be that busy. Because an in-demand consultant is hard to get to. The guru at the top of the mountain is at the top of the mountain, and people climb to get to the guru at the top of the mountain. There's no line for the guru at the bottom of the mountain that's taking anybody and everybody. So a lot of this has to be about positioning. Now, number 3, appearance. I do not like it when you guys go into sales meetings and you've got your logo shirt on, because that says technician. Because when I have plumbers and heating and cooling people and the refrigerator repairman and the pool guy, when they show up, what are they all wearing? Logo shirts. Now, if you want to wear it around on the weekend, I don't care about that. When you are meeting with a client, suit. Now, you don't have to be complete suit, tie, maybe, or maybe you do. It depends on the audience you're selling to. If you're selling to bankers, you better wear a suit and tie. If you, at a minimum, maybe a casual jacket, collared shirt. Now, your techs can wear the logo shirt because they're engineers, but not you. Brochure instead of authority-related materials. So salespeople have brochures. Consultants, in-demand experts, specialists, don't walk around handing out brochures. They hand out books, authority materials like reports, research reports, white papers. That's the material that you want to hand out. Another thing is being willing to cave on fees, terms, or advice. Because if you are busy and in demand, you won't budge on your price. It's like, hurry up, Bubba, make a decision because I got 10 more standing here in line, and if you want me, you better make a decision now because and I can't even start your project for 6 months. So if you want, the busy in demand doctor, hairstylist, people who are high in demand, you just don't call up and say, well, I want to come see them tomorrow. It's like, I'm sorry, they're booked out to July. That should be kind of the answer. Now, I'm not saying in your sales process that you make a prospect wait for 3 months to meet with you. What I am saying is that you don't want to be too willing to cave on fees, too willing to give a discount, too willing to roll over on your advice. This is another thing you want to write down. People want certainty. They want somebody who appears to be confident in their recommendations and firm in their recommendations. And if you are, then you're not going to cave on price. Being too eager to sell, rushing the decision, or being too pushy, like you're trying to get the sale. And I'm not saying that you don't try to get the sale, but you don't want to appear to be trying to get the sale. One book that everybody should read is Chris Voss' Never Split the Difference. If you want a way to know how to elegantly get somebody to say yes, that's the book for you. And I know a lot of you have access to his videos, and you should go back and watch those videos. Evading questions or appearing squeamish about price. It's, again, surprising to me how many of you never raise price in the first sort of sit-down consultation. Now, I'm not saying you lead with it, but I definitely think that you need to bring it up. If your prospects, the first time if a prospect sees price is when you email them your proposal, which is exactly how salespeople act. If that's the first time they're seeing price, you've got it all wrong. So you have to have that price discussion. I wouldn't have it until I've asked some diagnostic questions, but you want to raise price because that shows confidence. Well, based on your situation, Mr. Prospect, I can't really know for sure until I do further diagnostics, but I can tell you someone of your size and scope, our typical client is going to spend somewhere around $2,000 to $3,000 per month on a managed deal. There may be a project attached to it. I don't know. I got to get in here and look around. Is that within your expectations? So I'm not trying to talk him into saying, that's a good value, isn't it? Because then I'm trying to talk him. That's salespeople. But by raising price, It shows confidence, it shows you're not hiding anything, it shows you're perfectly, completely comfortable with it. And you need to build that into your presentation. Nervousness or neediness in any form, using sales language like calling it a quote or a proposal, I would call it an action plan. Well, we got to do a diagnostic process, and then I'll come back to you with my report of findings, which is a term from the chiropractic industry. I'm going to come back with my report of findings, and then we'll put together an action plan of how to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Okay, that's consultant language. Sales language is I'll email you a quote. And then prescribing or selling without diagnostics. And this is a really, really big one. So aside from gathering useful information, because doing a diagnostic process and asking these questions actually is necessary. Like if I'm going to sit down with you and talk to you about a marketing problem, I got to ask you some questions. That's why like on the Q&A calls, I allow it sometimes if people have bad connections. I want, like Debbie, people type in a question. She'll like, no, you got to talk to her. Because you're going to ask me a question and I need to know 10 other things before I can give you a good answer. I mean, that's the reality. So I got to know the situation, what the goals are, what your problems are, what have you tried in the past. I need to know details. So aside from gathering useful information, a good diagnostic process positions you as an expert, not just a sales guy. Because again, salespeople, prospect shows up, they start selling what's on the wagon. The other thing is a diagnostic process will provide a lead generation offer to you that transcends immediate need. And so one of the things that you've got to think about is when you're doing lead generation marketing, most people out there feel like they are fine. So their network is running, they haven't gotten a ransomware attack. As far as they're concerned, whether it's good or not, they don't know, but all they know is things are up and running and it's good enough. All right? So if you are going to go into that prospect and say, hey, we sell IT support, they're going to say, we're fine. If we can go to them and say, take this quiz or allow us to diagnose your cybersecurity situation and find out and know for certain whether or not you're being protected from cybercrime, ransomware, et cetera, et cetera. See, that transcends immediate need. It's the Cosmo quiz. I'm really glad yesterday Ross talked about his process, the scorecard and because here's another thing. Prospects don't know what good is. Let me say that again. Prospects don't know what good is. If they don't know what good is, how can they tell that you are better than their current person? You have to teach them. And you can do that through a diagnostic process, all right? And you want to ask thought-provoking questions on that. Develop dissatisfaction and establish an urgent need. We're going to talk about that a little bit. It's got to cultivate trust with the prospect through repetition. So here's another thing. The more a prospect gets involved in the diagnostic process, the more they meet with you, the higher the close rate will be. My mentor, Dan Kennedy, nearly doubled the close rate on Miracle Ear, because he worked with a couple of their franchises. He nearly doubled the close rate by simply making the diagnostic process, when you go in for a hearing test, just doubling the amount of time the prospect is there. So they usually took, I think it was a little more than double. They would take 20 minutes to do a hearing test. He built the whole diagnostic process to last an hour, and the close rate doubled, just purely because more repetition builds more trust. So that's another reason why you want to do it. You want to get buy-in from involvement. If they've got to fill in a form, if they've got to fill in a survey, if they've got to provide you with some information, if you're asking very thought-provoking questions that they don't even know the answer to, that again gets involvement. It appears to be customizing a solution for their situation and their budget, and it helps the prospect, this is a key one, discover their problem. Now again, this is a checklist. Go back to your sales process and ask yourself, are you accomplishing these things? All right? And a lot of you, I know you go, well, I don't want to spend the money. I've heard people say, well, I don't want to spend the money because it costs money to do these assessments. If it's a small company, I just go in and I kind of look around. See, don't let your cheapness mess up the sales process, right? Because the diagnostic, even if you could just, you go, look, Robin, I'm telling you, I walk into 100 networks, I can find the same 5 problems, and then within 5 minutes, I look at the number of endpoints, I look at the servers, I look at their situation, and pretty much within a range, I can tell you what they need and how much I'm going to charge. Even if you can do that, You should not do that because the diagnostic process is as important. It's more important for the prospect than it is for you. Slow. See, that's salespeople. Oh, I know what you need. I'm just going to start selling you. Consultants, slow it down. Let me understand your situation. Let me ask you some questions. Let me understand what's important to you. Because the other part about diagnostic questions, most prospects have not thought through what does success look like. So Mr. Prospect, let's suppose you hire me and we go down the road 6 months. How will you know I did a good job for you? What does success look like for you? I'll tell you what, most of them have not defined that. And how can you possibly hit a goal that hasn't been defined? So selling, when you're doing diagnostic process and consultative selling, a big part of this is coaching. You're coaching people to say, let's figure out what success would look like. Let's figure out what's important to you because they haven't even clarified it in their mind. And if you go in and you help them clarify their goals and help them understand what's important, help them understand how to make a good decision, see, that elevates you. There's value in that. But if you just rush to close, you miss all of that opportunity to help your customer. So this is not just manipulative bullshit. This is real. You've got to help them understand because in your mind, you're like, I know what success is, and you think they know. They don't know. I wish I had a dime for every prospect that came to hire me for consulting, and I ask them that question, what does success look like? I have yet to have anyone give me a succinct answer. Like, not once. Not once. Like, well, I hope we get more leads. Well, how many leads? At what time? At what price point? They haven't thought that through. So you got to help them think through that process. And in doing so, you build rapport, you build trust, you learn some good information that actually you might be able to prescribe something better, and it helps you put you in a better role. Is this making sense?